Before we begin, take a second right now. Hit subscribe, like this video, and drop your thoughts in the comments. What you're about to hear is something most people completely missed, and it could change everything. Something unusual just happened on American television. It was quiet. No shouting, no chaos, no viral clips flooding your feed. And yet, those 37 minutes may turn out to be one of the most important political moments of this year. Mark Carney sat down, calm and steady, and spoke in a way that cut through all the noise. No drama, no tricks, just clear, simple words. And that's exactly why so many people overlooked it. But here's the truth. This was not just another interview. This was a message, a warning, and possibly the beginning of a major shift that could shake Donald Trump's presidency in ways few are ready for. Because while headlines were busy chasing the next loud moment, Carney was doing something far more dangerous. He was explaining the bigger picture, slowly, clearly, in a way that made people stop and think. And when people start thinking, power starts to move. What made those 37 minutes so powerful wasn't what was said loudly, it was what was said quietly. The kind of truth that doesn't trend fast, but sticks deep. Carney talked about the economy, but not in the way politicians usually do. No confusing terms, no empty promises. He spoke like someone who understands how the system really works, and more importantly, how it can break. And as he spoke, one thing became clear. If people start listening, really listening, the current balance of power could begin to crack. Now let's be clear about something. Mark Carney is not just another voice on TV. He is someone who has been inside the system. He has seen how money moves, how decisions are made, and how leaders respond when pressure builds. So when he speaks, people in power listen, even if they don't admit it. And during those 37 minutes, he didn't attack, he didn't raise his voice, but what he did was far more effective. He exposed weaknesses, not by shouting them, but by calmly laying them out piece by piece. He spoke about stability, about trust, about how markets react not just to policies, but to behavior. And right there, without even saying Trump's name over and over again, he painted a picture that many viewers couldn't ignore, a picture of uncertainty. Because here's what many people don't realize. Markets don't like surprises. They don't like confusion. And they definitely don't like leaders who change direction without warning. Carney made it simple. When leadership feels unpredictable, the system starts to shake. And when the system shakes, everything is at risk. This is where it gets serious. Because if enough people, investors, business leaders, even everyday Americans, start to feel that instability, the pressure builds fast. And pressure like that doesn't stay quiet for long. What really caught attention was the tone. There was no panic, no fear in his voice, just calm confidence. That's what made it powerful. Because when someone speaks calmly about serious problems, it forces people to listen more closely. Carney didn't say everything is falling apart. He said something more dangerous. He suggested that things could fall apart if the current path continues. That single idea can change how people think overnight. Because now, it's not about what is happening today. It's about what could happen tomorrow. And that is where doubt begins. He pointed to signs, small ones, but real ones, signals that experts watch closely, signals that tell you when a system is under stress. Most people don't see those signs, but once they are explained in simple words, they become impossible to ignore. And suddenly, viewers who thought everything was fine begin to ask questions. Quiet questions, but powerful ones. Is the economy as strong as it looks? Is leadership as stable as it seems? And most importantly, what happens next? Now here's where things take a deeper turn, because this wasn't just about the economy, it was about trust. Carney made it clear. Trust is the foundation of everything. Without it, no policy, no speech, no promise can hold things together. And trust, once shaken, is very hard to rebuild. He explained how quickly confidence can disappear. Not in years, not even in months, sometimes in days. And when confidence drops, reactions follow fast. Markets move, prices shift, people pull back. It becomes a chain reaction, and that's the risk he was quietly pointing to. Not a loud crisis, but a slow growing one, the kind that starts small and then suddenly becomes impossible to control. What makes this moment different is that the warning didn't come from a political rival. It came from someone who understands the system from the inside, someone who has seen what happens when leaders ignore early signs. And that's why those 37 minutes matter, because they planted a seed of doubt. And here's the part most people are still missing. This wasn't just a warning to leaders. It was a signal to everyone watching, because when people begin to understand what's really at stake, behavior changes. Investors become careful, businesses slow down decisions, even voters begin to look at things differently, and that's where the real impact begins, not in one big moment, but in many small shifts happening at the same time. Carney didn't need to call for change directly. He simply gave people the information, clear, simple, direct. And when people connect the dots themselves, the effect is far stronger. That's what makes this so important, because now the conversation is starting to change. Not loud, not dramatic, but steady, and steady change is often the most powerful kind. Those 37 minutes may not have gone viral, but they may have done something far bigger. They may have started a movement of thought, and once that begins, it's very hard to stop. Now the question becomes unavoidable. What happens if more people start paying attention? Because once a message like this begins to spread, not through noise, but through quiet understanding, it reaches the people who matter most, the decision makers, the insiders, the ones who don't react to headlines, but to signals. And Carney's message was full of signals. Signals that something is not fully stable, signals that the current path may not hold. And when those signals are picked up by the right people, reactions begin behind closed doors, not on social media, not in public speeches, but in private conversations where real decisions are made. That's how power shifts in the real world, not always with a loud bang, but with a quiet turn. And if that turn has already started, then what we're seeing right now may only be the beginning. Because once confidence starts to move away, even slightly, it creates space. Space for new voices, new ideas, and new direction. There's something else that made those 37 minutes so different. Carney didn't try to convince people emotionally. He didn't need to. He used facts, patterns, simple logic, and that's what makes it harder to ignore, because emotions can be dismissed, but clear reasoning stays with you. He walked viewers through how systems behave under pressure, how small cracks can grow, how warning signs often appear long before a major shift, and by the time people realize what's happening, it's usually too late to stop it easily. That idea alone changes everything, because now people are not just reacting to today's news, they are thinking ahead. They are watching more closely, and when enough people start watching closely, mistakes become harder to hide, weaknesses become easier to see, and accountability begins to grow. That's where real pressure builds. At this point, something deeper is taking shape. A change in perception, and perception is powerful because leadership is not just about decisions, it's about how those decisions are seen. Carney's words didn't attack directly, but they reshaped how people might view what's already happening. And once perception shifts, everything that follows is affected. Every policy, every statement, every move now gets looked at through a different lens, a more critical one, a more careful one, and that's when the ground begins to move under any presidency, not because of one speech, but because of what that speech makes. People start to see. And once people see things differently, they don't easily go back. Here's the reality many are starting to understand. Power is not just propelled, it is supported by confidence, by belief, by the idea that things are under control. And when that support begins to weaken, even slightly, the effects spread fast. Carney didn't need to say this directly, but it was there, between every line. If confidence drops, support can shift, and when support shifts, pressure rises from every direction. Political, economic, public. It becomes harder to maintain control, harder to push forward without resistance, and that's where challenges grow, not overnight, but steadily, relentlessly, until something has to give. So now we come to the moment that matters most. Not what was said, but what happens next. Because those 37 minutes are no longer just an interview, they are a starting point, a quiet turning point that many people didn't notice, but will soon begin to feel. The ideas shared are now out there, moving, spreading, reaching the people who shape what comes next. And once that process begins, it's very hard to stop. This is how real change often starts, not with loud announcements, but with clear understanding. And right now, that understanding is growing, slowly, steadily, but powerfully, the kind of growth that doesn't fade, the kind that builds. And if it continues on this path, those 37 minutes may one day be remembered not as just another TV moment, but as the moment everything began to shift,